Hi everybody, welcome back here on TV 15 for another exciting chapter of Talking Rougher Football. I'm Bill Huddleston along with the coach of the Roughers, Rafe Watkins. And coach, there's nothing like a 0, especially when it's on the right-hand side of the record.
It is, and we're 3-0 now, 6-0 overall, 3-0, which is the most important in the league, and got two of the toughest teams out of the way. Both were ranked number 1 when we beat them, with Bixby and now Booker T. And I tell you, those kids come over there, and I don't think there was really much doubt from the onset. Our defense set the tone early with, how it was coming out there and controlling their speed. Offensively, we go down and we had only one miscue where we fumbled inside the 5-yard line, but had a 17-0 lead at halftime. Come back out, made it a little entertaining. They have some great speed, and the McQuarters kid can change things in a hurry, and he was able to break a 55-yarder against us and make it 17-7. But probably the biggest drive, other than obviously the last drive against Bixby was the biggest. But then for the other night, to change momentum back for our side, our offense went down on about an 8-play drive, was able to score and put it out of reach, and then was able to run out the clock there at the end, just running the ball. So defensively, though, that's probably about as good an effort as we could put up against a team like that with all their speed and talent that they have, and just couldn't ask for more out of the kids.
Well, playing on the road, the Roughers went and, as they mentioned, took care of business. We got some of the video highlights from this last Friday night's game, so let's roll our video and pick it up with the offense.
I think this is a big third down play right there to Cameron. In fact, it was third down and about 8 right then. We get into our big package, our cowboy package, and just moving people. Mo with a great run here. We had some great blocking up front there. You saw Big Mike, a guest that we have today. Defensively, here where they start coming, and we get a big turnover. Was able to go in and score after that. That was after we had fumbled inside. And then we harassed their quarterback all night long. We knew that if we gave them time, that they had the type of receivers and stuff. If you give them time, they can get downfield and get open. We can't cover them all night. But right here you see Big Mike and Bruiser and Buck Cannon. We had everybody coming after him, Phillip, and we had all of our defensive line was after him all night. Proud of old Jacob here. He pulls it, and he's not, just by doing that a few times will keep people honest. You don't think of him as a runner. Joe coming back to the underthrown ball and then just kind of glides in.
Great adjustment of the ball in midair, and then he just says, catch me if you can. You won't.
Again, we got pressure on the backside by Big Mike. He fumbles. Parker Hall gets him a fumble recovery. Saw big Michael Buchanan coming right there. He's probably wanting to get him another scoop and score. That's a great catch there by DJ Mays. This is on the drive to come back after they'd made it 17-7, and then Mo goes in here and puts it up 23-7, which is ultimately the final score. And then just on this last, just the drives, here's our dragon play, which is just draw. Mo runs extremely hard. Mo, he ended up 34 carries for 137 yards and a couple of touchdowns. And while that doesn't sound like a great average, to pound it 34 times in there and get that 137, it was a great effort. And our offensive line did a good job in there. Just a total different animal than what we faced the week before against a big physical Bixby team. These guys weren't as big, but my gosh, they were so quick along the lines. And then they had two of the best linebackers we'll face all year long. That number 1 was just an animal. He's a great football player.
Consensus now, number 1 in the rankings. I know you as a coach try to downplay that and keep your kids at a level pace. How the young men responded in practices, knowing it's a short week, but more importantly, realizing everybody's now looking at Muskogee and they're the team to beat.
Well, it's exciting. That's where we want, but it's like you said, it's new territory. We're used to chasing somebody with the target on their back. We now have that. When you're number 1, that's what everybody's going to do. But I'm proud for the kids. Again, as we've said, it doesn't mean anything really. It's nice for scrapbooks and mom and dads to talk about and the community to get excited about. But for us, what was more important to me was Sunday. We had to practice on Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock because of it being a Thursday game, so we move everything up a day. Kids came in there excited. I was a little worried that they was afraid they was going to have to, messing up their Sunday afternoon, but they was in there, good spirits. They're excited. We had a great practice yesterday on Monday. I anticipate us having another great practice today. And they realize what's at hand. And it's not like we're going to overlook Sand Springs. They beat us 5 years in a row. Since I've been here, offensively, we've done absolutely nothing against their defense. Their defense has been the best the last 2 years that we've faced. I realize that Bixby's one state, but Sand Springs the last 2 years has had the best defense that we've faced. Physical kids, they're not the most talented. They've got some talent, but every one of their kids swarm the ball so well, and they're great tacklers, and they're very aggressive on their defense.
Well, we'll certainly talk a little bit more about Hall of Fame a little bit later on our program. But our next guest is a guy that maybe deserves some consideration for a Hall of Famer because he's been doing this for 46 years. Now, not playing offense or defense or coaching, but he's been running the chain gang. Doug Fulkerson will join me and Coach Watkins when we return here on TV 15. Welcome back here on TV 15. Bill Huddleston along with the coach of the Roughers, Rafe Watkins. And, Coach, between us is one of the most experienced members of the Rougher football program.
He's a living legend, isn't he? And, that's I'm glad to say that he's on the chain gang because I don't know if I can be this close to an official or not. But, Doug does a great job. He tells a lot of stories. He's let me, when I first got here, I knew more about Muskogee football in about 3 days than probably anybody else could tell me. He's been over there and he's been a part of it, and I promise you, we will talk about a lot of people around here that bleed green. I don't think there's anybody that bleeds green as much as this guy right here.
Absolutely. Doug Fulkerson, who's been on the chain gang and been a part of Rougher football for how many years, Doug?
46 years.
46 years.
46 years.
You were telling me that, when your dad had been involved with it and then your brother said, come on, we're going to the sidelines, and since you were, 11 years old, you've been down there?
11 years old. My brother started me out as 11 years old. I thought I was just going to go to the game and watch it, and he said halfway there, I said, are we going to sit in Dad's seats, up in the reserve section? He said, no, you're running the chains with me. And an 11-year-old kid out there with a bunch of big high school football players, I was pretty scared at the time, but it turned into something I just loved. I love doing it.
Well, certainly you and your crew have seen a lot of different action over those 46 years. You've seen the difference in the stadium from the big hump in the middle to now the surface that we play on with the artificial turf. But how many times do you remember having to stand out there and keep the stripes showing, but it was pouring down rain or freezing cold?
Oh, too many. I tell people the first experience I had with that comes to my mind is they instituted overtime, and they instituted all the way down to junior high. And we had a junior high game with McAllister, and the 9th grade team went into 4 overtimes, and it was raining when the game started, but at the end of the game there was sleet. It was sleeting and overtime in a junior high game. And then there was the playoffs in '86 where they had hay bales and space heaters on the sidelines, and the wind chill at kickoff was minus 26 degrees.
Well, certainly you've been through all kinds of a deal, but I know you have, just like the rest of the community, are caught up in this groundswell of emotion for this year's football team. I remember looking out on the field after the Bixby game, and in the huddle of the students that were jumping up and down was some guy with a down marker. Tell me about that.
Well, I have to apologize for that. My brother's probably looking down from heaven saying that I shouldn't have done that, but I got caught up. We were at the end of the line. We're putting up the chains, and the guys recognized me, and they said, "Hey, it's Doug." And the next thing you know, I don't even really know what happened, Bill. We've been down for so long, and I just had all this pin up. I had to let it go.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, I'm out there, and we're all jumping up and down, and I'm feeling like I'm 16 years old again, and I just love to see Muskogee win.
I got one question for you. Did you consciously set the down marker to number 1? Because when that sign was going up and down, up and 1, all I could see was the big orange 1 amongst that sea of green.
Well, no, we do that after every game to set it in the locker room so it'll work right the next time you do that. But that was just a happy coincidence, I guess. If it wasn't set on number 1, I would have set it on number 1.
Well, Coach, there's no doubt that Doug and his crew and the other members of the chain gang crew are who?
Mark Hale, been with me 28 years. Jimmy Monroe's been with me 16 years, and Thomas Price has been with me 10.
Obviously, those 4 guys, they get to the stadium almost before the coaches and the players do, and you can't run a game without the chain crew, and Doug is the leader of the group, and they do a fantastic job.
He does a wonderful job. And talking about that, I just got through with some interviews, and I saw that going up and down. I thought, oh my gosh, one of the kids has stole Doug's down marker. He'll be hot about that. Till you look in there and you see the stripes, and it's Doug, and he's got a smile from ear to ear on his face and having a great time. And that is what it was all about. That was a great win, but it was also seeing people that's been around this for a long time getting so excited, and that's what was so fun about that game.
Well, he doesn't get a jersey, but he wears the stripes. He's easy to see, but he's also the biggest fan of the Roughers.
That's right.
Regardless of the circumstances, but even more this year, Doug, it's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And I told Coach Coach Hill, the defense coordinator, my favorite play of that Bixby game was something that nobody else will probably even notice. But Bixby had a 3rd and 3, and they tried to get us to jump off sides. Freeze play, Coach. And our defensive line stood there. Now, in the past, we would have jumped, and that would have been a first down. It could have made a difference in the ballgame. But I'm so proud of how our players have matured under you and Coach Hill and the rest of the coaching staff. They really have matured, and they've learned to love the game of football, and they're learning the game of football. And the more you learn, the more you love, and the more you love it, you get to winning, and winning's contagious.
Coaching strategy coming from the rougher referee.
I'm taking it all in.
Doug Fulkerson, he's the head of the chain gang. He's the #1 fan of the Roughers each and every Friday night at Muskogee Creek Nation Field in Indian Bowl. When we come back, it'll be time for this week's player profile with a guy who's making his own impact in the action, Big Mike. Mike Edwards will join us when we come back here on TV 15. Welcome back here on TV 15. It's always fun when we have a chance, Coach, to bring in one of the guys that are making the difference each and every Friday night. And you and I talked about our player of the week this time, Michael Edwards, about a young man that had such an upswing in his ability, and now he's taking it from could be to doing it.
Well, when I first came in, I saw this big old freshman, and knew he's going to be a great player, but he's just, like you said, he's put it all together now. He's a great leader, and to be a junior for us, and he's turned into everything that we thought he'd be. He has all this natural ability. He has this God-given speed that he chases people down. Still had to learn a lot. He's done a great job in the weight room. He was just an old kind of lanky kid at first, but he's getting a lot stronger in the weight room, and just really proud of him. And Mike's turning into what we thought, and by his senior year, he's got a chance to be really something special.
Of course, Michael Edwards plays defensive end in that 4-man front. And Mike, I asked you before we started our show here today, what's the biggest change you've seen in your performance from last year as a sophomore to this year now as a junior?
Well, working hard in the off-season, Coach Hill pushing me, all the rest of the coaches.
Now, this year's front four with you and Keandre out on the other end, and then you've got Michael Buchanan, you've also got Philip Duncan, and from time to time Parker Hall. You guys just seem to enjoy dominating the line of scrimmage. What's happening up there on the front line?
We got brotherhood.
Brotherhood.
Come together.
Now, last week in the game against Tulsa, Washington, it seemed as if nobody could hold you back. What was going through your mind on every snap of the football?
Whoop the guy next to me.
Whoop the guy next to me. Okay. But then chasing down the quarterback. Coach talked about your speed. Tell me about how you're able to find that extra gear and take it up and get the QB sack.
When I'm at home, I run around the block.
Okay.
Build up my speed.
All right. Now, I don't know. Turn your head sideways. Look towards Coach. Okay. Look right here. It says 100. That's the earring that he's got on. Michael, I asked you earlier, but tell me, what's the meaning behind that 100? Is that the number of tackles you want to get this year or what?
Yeah, number of sacks.
Number of sacks. Okay, Coach. Well, before he's done,
I hope it's a score of his English and math test is what it is. But.
What's it like for this year's football team? I mean, you're one of the brotherhood, as you mentioned, and it seems like there's just a great cohesiveness, a great unity among this year's football team. A lot different from last year?
Yes, sir.
What's the biggest change you see, other than wins?
Paying attention, being focused in practice, work hard.
Taking nothing for granted.
Yes, sir.
Well, here's a young man that takes nothing for granted until you blow the whistle and they snap the football. Then he takes for granted that he's going to make the sack on the quarterback or stop the play at the line of scrimmage. Now, you also get out there from time to time as a tight end.
Yes,
Have
sir.
you been working on those pass receiving skills?
Yes, sir.
Well, maybe that'll work in there, Coach.
I hope we get him in open field because it's something to watch whenever, our guys on our scout team sure don't want to come up and hit him. So we get this big guy in open space, and like I said, you don't understand how fast he can run. And we get him open, he's going to have some fun times in that open secondary.
He wears number 30. His friends call him Big Mike. Perhaps that's because of the plays he makes. Michael Edwards at defensive end, making things happen for the Roughers on defense. When we come back, we'll talk about Hall of Fame night, but more importantly, the next opponent for the Roughers, the Sandites of Sand Springs. That when we continue here on TV 15. Bill Huddleston back with Coach Rafe Watkins. And, Coach, we've had perhaps a guy that deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, Doug Wilkerson, a young man that's given you Hall of Fame type efforts as a junior. Big Mike Edwards. Now, How does the Rougher team come up with another Hall of Fame performance this Thursday night against Sand Springs?
Well, defensively, we have to stop their tailback. He's got over 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns on the year. He's a wrestler, good balance, great speed. They do a great job running the ball. They got some power and some trap game that will give us, trouble if we don't come in and do what we've been coached to do. Coach Hill and the defensive staff will continue to do a great job with them offensively, and that's the challenge. Their defense is outstanding. They've put it to us. They shut us out 2 years ago, and last year we only got 10 points out of it. So this year our offense has got a great challenge ahead of them. Whether we're going to have to take what they give us, because they don't give you a lot, but we'll have to throw the ball, and we're going to have to establish the run, which is what's really killed us the last 2 years. We have not had any run game the last 2 years against them. So that's going to be the challenge for our offensive linemen and Mo and the whole crew. Offensively, we've got to be able to establish the run.
You still have to get the victory, but moving 3-0 in the district with only 2 other district games remaining would be phenomenal.
Well, this makes us 4-0. You win this ball game, and for all intents and purposes, it guarantees you at least the playoffs, which was our ultimate goal. And you got to look at it. As a coach, you don't want to look ahead, but you can be honest too. And I mean, if we take care of business with the last 2 teams, we should be district champions with this game if we go out and take care of business. So the main thing is we're just focused on Sand Springs and getting that win. We'll be 4-0 and setting ourselves really good for a district championship.
Well, it is a Thursday night. It is Hall of Fame night. There'll be 8 former Roughers of all sports to be inducted to the class of 2016. Want to invite you out to Muskogee Creek Nation Field for all the celebration, but hopefully the biggest celebration on Hall of Fame night will be another win for the Roughers, and things just keep on getting better.
That's the whole key. It's not much celebration if you lose the ball game, is it?
Indeed. For Rafe Watkins, for Doug Fulkerson, and Big Mike Edwards, I'm Bill Huddleston saying so long, and remember, it's always a great day to be a Rougher.